Okay, so this is a tutorial video on how to make what I think is one of the easiest and most effective upgrades to a gas blowback pistol. We're going to replace the standard Tokyo Marui 5.1 inner barrel for a Tanio Koba twist inner barrel, and I don't know if you can see, but it's got a slight rifling on the inner barrel. There's loads of stuff on Google if you want to check this out, and how it might be more effective than some of the other type inner barrels, but that's the one we're going to go for, and that's for the 5.1. Whilst we're doing that, I'll also replace the recoil spring as well, so I'll just show you how that's done. So on the left we've got a Tokyo Marui 4.3 Hi Capa. That's just a custom Hi Capa that I've put together, and on the left is a 5.1 match custom. That's pretty much all stock apart from the coloured outer barrel there. So the process is the same for both guns. The inner barrel is actually a little bit shorter on a Marui 4.3, so you can see there it's the bottom one. It's just a little bit shorter than the 5.1 barrel, but the process of changing it is exactly the same for 4.3, so let's just get rid of that. So the pistol, first thing to do is take the top slide off. If you just line up the first notch on the upper slide with the slide stop, you can just pop that out. That'll just come straight out, and the barrel will just slide straight off. So with the top slide, you can see the recoil spring there sat on the guide rod. What we want to do is just take that out by pushing the bushing out from the front here. So there's a little notch here. Just push that in to free up the guide rod, and that will just pop out. So just put that to one side, and at that point this outer barrel should just push and it'll slide straight out. And on the standard outer barrel, you'll have to flex the plastic a little bit just to get this hop-up housing out. On mine, it's an aftermarket one. There's a little grub screw, so I'll just undo that, and that'll just slide straight out. From here, you'll need a screwdriver to undo that screw there and that screw there. So I'll just quickly. Okay, so after popping the small two screws off, the hop-up housing will just split into two pieces. Just put that piece down for a second, and that's what the hop-up is basically. It's just a little wheel, and then there's this little bar that raises and lowers depending on what you set your hop-up at. Just turn the right way around. So that housing will just drop off, and here you've got the hop rubber. The standard Tokyo Marui hop rubber is pretty good, so for the sake of this upgrade, I'm actually going to keep the standard hop rubber on until it degrades, and after that I'll replace it for something like a 9-ball one, and that's a 9-ball hop rubber you can use. It's pretty easy to spot. It's a purple one, but we'll stick with this. So that's just what the inner barrel looks like, and we're going to go ahead and swap that with the Tanio Koba one. Just pop those off. And the hop rubber will, I don't know if you can see there, but there's a slight notch on the inner barrel, and there's also a notch on each side there and there. And those locate onto the hop-up housing, so we'll just pop the hop rubber onto there and it'll fit quite snugly. And the easy way to tell is this little notch will stick out on the right hand side. So you want the opening at the top and this hop rubber with the notch on the right, and that's important because when you put it back into the housing, it'll fit into that gap there. So that just sits into there. Put it back together. This is actually dead easy to do and it doesn't take long at all. So just reassemble that back together. That piece there, I'll just show it again. Just sits on there. And if you want, you can put a little dab of silicone oil on the outside of the hop rubber if you wanted. Then sit the housing on and just put the screws back in. And what you should be able to see when you turn the hop is at the top of the hop rubber a little nub will come up and down. Don't know if it's clear on there, it's probably not very clear. You may just see it at the top there. Okay. So that's really all there is to putting in a new tight boy in a barrel. It takes about 10 minutes and typically you might expect to see about 10 to 15 FPS increase depending on what kind of gas you're using, maybe a bit more. And the idea is that a thinner, longer barrel, if you are extending the length of the barrel, gives the gas more time to exert a bit of force on the BB. And if it's got less space to bounce around, then that'll mean when it comes out at the end of the barrel, it'll come out in a tighter grouping. Okay, so just put it back together. That just goes straight back into the outer barrel. For mine, I've got a little grub screw here. A stock one won't have that. Stock one will just have to force in, and because it's plastic, it'll flex and fit that inner barrel straight back in. And then that just goes back into the front of the top slide and sits in there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is replace the recoil spring. This doesn't actually do anything to the FPS or the performance of the gun, other than give it a stronger kick and return the top slide back a bit quicker. So I'm just going to put on a Guarder one. The spring is actually the same for the 4.3 as it is for the 5.1. And that one there that I'm not going to use is a hammer spring, and that hammer spring goes in the bottom of the gun in the hammer spring housing, which is that bit of the grip there. You just pop that pin out and this will slide out and you can replace it. The point of the hammer spring is to give the hammer action a bit more power, so when it connects with the gas valve on the magazine, it exerts more gas. That does increase FPS, but it also uses more gas. But we'll forget that for now. So we're going to use the uprated recoil spring. I think this is probably 150%, but they do come in different grades if you want to try a different one. So that just sits on there. Sorry, not put it in the right way. And that goes back into the bushing. So that all compresses down and fits back into the same place we started off. Like that, and then just put the top slide back on, and that recoil spring is a spring that causes that top slide to return forward after you release the slide stop. And just gives it a snappier firing action. So there we go. Really straightforward upgrade. Doesn't take long at all, and should improve the performance of your gas blowback pistol dramatically. Any questions? Just drop me a comment, or if you want to see some other tutorials, perhaps maybe some stuff on how to upgrade your 4.3. There's some stuff that I've done to this that I can put some videos up if anybody's interested. So there you have it. 5.1, 4.3.